welcome to Pain in the Podcast, your place to find out everything you ever wanted to know about pain. My name's Dr. Joseph Parsons, and I'm joined by the phenomenal Don Wijasoria and Dr. Joshua Craw. And today, we're going to be talking about work and pain, part 2. Welcome in.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Pain in the Podcast. We're going to start off, as we do every episode, by getting to know a little bit more about each of us. Let's start off with a fact about you, Joseph.
So, my fact, keeping on the dancing theme from last episode, is that, as you probably guessed from the raw prawn fact many moons ago, I dance lots of different styles of swing dancing. So, I do Lindy Hop, Charleston, Balboa, and Shag. So it's quite fun because you can go and ask people if they would like a shag.
And what do they usually say?
They usually say, "Oh, not with you."
Wow. Well, I mean, I don't know how to top that fact. In fact, I'm not going to try and top it. I'm just going to say a fact. So, a fact about me is I play Dungeons and Dragons.
So you do.
I do indeed.
And you recently finished a campaign.
I did. It was a 6-month-long campaign where we fought the evil Strad von Zarovich. For those of you who don't know, Dungeons and Dragons is a role-play game. I highly recommend it.
I have never played. Did you win? Does one win?
Does one win at anything, really? But yes, we won.
Typically in
excellent.
games, yes.
Do you have to beat the Dungeon Master? Is that the idea?
It's not us versus the Dungeon Master.
Or is it you versus the game?
Yeah,
Okay.
so the Dungeon Master is there to facilitate a fun experience. It's not about them trying to kill you or try to beat you. It's about them trying to make a fun environment for you to role play in a fun way.
Cool.
And it's dictated by dice, so you can you're limited by your imagination.
Nice.
I have very little of that, so I was terrible the 2 times I played Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, you played Dungeons and Dragons?
I have, yes. It was terrible. I couldn't get past the orcs.
Which orcs? I mean,
Well, our dungeon master just made a lot of orcs, and I was like, this is just Lord of the Rings. So I just kept doing stuff according to Lord of the Rings.
yeah, you
And
can't.
it got kind of boring.
Oh,
Yeah, I didn't do very well. But I think I'd give it another go. That was a few years ago, so I'd like to think that my imagination's evolved since then.
Yeah, well, other than that fact, would you like to share another fact with us, Dan?
Yeah. I don't know if I've mentioned this on previously, but I play some badminton. Been playing for a while, about more than 6 years now. And yeah, a very big fan. Recently went to see the All England tournament. It was terrible this year. A lot of controversial calls.
You say you went
To
there.
the All
Was that there to play, or was that to spectate?
I love that you think that I can possibly play in an international tournament.
Well, I don't know. I've got every faith in you, Dom.
Thank you.
This is. I got into playing basketball when I was 20, and age 22, I bought myself a Great Britain jersey when the new design came out, and I had my name and the number 97 put on the back because I was born in 1997. And my friend Greg, bless him, sent me a message being like, "Oh my God, you got called up for the team," and he was dead serious. I was like, "Yeah, mate, yeah, I did. I got called up for the national team."
Oh, Greg.
So there you go. Also, Don is being very modest. We like to big each other up here on the podcast. Don is very good at badminton, and I'm saying this on the podcast just in case he's listening. He is better than you, Alistair.
Wait.
So enjoy that.
I didn't really need that. I already knew that. But thank you, Joe.
You're very welcome.
Yes. So going back to the All England, yeah, it was fantastic. Just a lot of controversial line calls and so many people flashing their phones. If any of you listening out there happen to go to the All England, why were so many people flashing their
That
phones?
sounds
No
like
idea.
really bad etiquette. It's almost like shouting during someone's golf swing.
Yeah. There was a lot of interruptions, and there was one player from Indonesia who it was a critical point in the match, and she lost the point and subsequently lost the match because this little kid, bless him, flashed his phone right in front of her, and the umpire wouldn't let them replay the point.
That's crazy.
And that was in the quarterfinals. So imagine working your entire life training for this
Yeah.
in one of the most prestigious tournaments, and that happens to you.
I can't remember if it's Wimbledon, but someone was pointing a laser pointer at tennis players' eyes, which is just like super dangerous.
That happens at football all the time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, goalkeepers, especially during penalties.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are weird. Stop doing that.
Yeah. You heard it here, guys. You've been commanded. Stop doing that.
Okay, so, Josh, what's something that you've learned about yourself this week?
Yeah, so as any viewer of the podcast might know, I think it was maybe episode 5 when it came to light that I'd managed to tear a tendon in my ankle. Well, we're going to drop the veil. These are recorded quite far in advance, and there's some considerable time between episodes. So my ankle has had time to completely and fully heal back to its baseline, I'd say. But there's something that hasn't actually changed, and this is something I learned and I hadn't even realised, and I think it's quite pertinent in terms of pain, in fact, is that I carry my phone, like I think 99% of other people do here, and I've got an app that tracks how many steps I take. Now, I've gone from averaging, bear in mind that I walk to work, which is 1.5 miles, and I walk at work as well. I've gone from averaging 15,000 steps a day
Quite high.
to approximately 8,000 steps a day.
Wow.
So yeah, since the accident where I tore the ligament in my ankle, despite feeling better, I'm walking considerably less, and I hadn't even noticed that until I checked on my app.
But I assume you're doing this pretty much the same thing that you were doing before.
Yeah, well, essentially, but
Anything different?
there is one thing different, and that's I don't know if it's got into the habit or it's just because I've been lazy, but like I usually walk to work. That's 1.5 miles. Do all my work, come back 1.5 miles, and then walk on the weekends and what have you. I've got into the habit of getting taxis back after work.
Yeah. But I think that's also night shifts, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's one of the difficulties.
Yeah, I was just thinking, that's the difference between having pain or not. It can sort of put you into a different mindset, and
Yeah, even when you feel like you're physically better from the pain, it does have long-lasting effects.
yeah, it's about those habits that you build during the pain as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Joe? What have you learnt?
I learned this week, which was very exciting for my fiance. I learned that I make a mean sticky toffee pudding. Never made one before. Mary Berry's recipe. No dates, if anyone's looking it.
Oh.
It was. I don't mind a date, but I'd prefer a non-datey, a non-raisiny, non-datey sticky toffee pudding, and it was excellent. That woman, she knows what she's doing.
I do have one very important question, Joe.
Yes.
Did it have a soggy bottom?
It had the soggiest bottom you've ever seen.
Oh my god.
Are we still talking about sticky toffee pudding?
But yeah, so I didn't bring any with me, but next time you guys are coming over Manchester way,
Yeah.
make your sticky toffee pudding.
Yeah, well, for those that don't know as well, Joe's actually quite a talented cook, although he's never worked in a kitchen.
I have. We had this discussion.
Yeah, we talked about this last
He's
time.
volunteered
I've
in
not
the
been a
kitchen.
chef. Yeah, I've not been a chef.
But
Been a sous chef. Not even that.
is it? I might be pronouncing this wrong, and if you're
yeah.
Georgian, please forgive me. But the kashpur,
Kashpuri. Yeah.
oh,
It's
my
like
God.
it's like a boat-shaped dough that has like 3 different types of cheese and egg cracked onto it, and it's so good. The cheeses, if anyone wants to make it at home, are like feta, mozzarella, and then what they call farmer's cheese, which like we can't get Georgian farmer's cheese. We just use cheddar instead. But it's so good. And they sometimes do this one. If you get a Yerevan kashpuri, you can get like these little strips of like cured beef sausage underneath the cheese, and
Beef sausage, that's a rare one.
I think it's because it's a highly Muslim country,
Ah, okay.
so like they're obviously avoiding pork, and I think like it's one of those things where like the denser meats kind of work better for this particular meal.
Yeah.
I think like turkey just wouldn't be.
Yeah. Speaking of turkey, does that kind of resemble a Turkish pita? I don't know. how you
It's kind of
pronounce
like
it.
pita, yeah. It is.
I actually think it looks like the Turkish eye as well, if I was being honest, when looking at it with the egg.
What's the Turkish eye?
The Turkish eye, you know what the Turkish eye is, Joe.
A Turkish man's eye?
Oh. We're just gonna take a little gap, and I'm just gonna show Joe what the Turkish eye is.
Da-dum, 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 da-dum.
Let's see what Google has to.
Oh yeah, of course I know what that is.
I
Oh
don't know
shit!
what
One of my
that
friends
is.
got me one. He got
Yeah.
it me as a present. He brought it back as on a keychain.
What's the
Yeah.
significance of this eye?
Oh, it's just like a I think good luck.
It's a
symbol?
beautiful blue eye for
Yeah, they're beautiful,
people-
but just
for
the shape
listeners
of it.
out
I get
there.
what you're saying. The ones that look more eye shaped, the ones that look more
Yeah, exactly.
kind of ovular. Yeah, I can see that with it looking like a kashpuri.
Oh, so the cheeses are kind of in a ring?
No,
form?
they're not in a ring. It's
Okay.
really just there's an egg. It's just that it's a oval
egg
shape
looks
with
like
an egg
an-
in it. But
You know what would have helped if you just searched up a picture of a
kashpuri,
yeah.
Okay.
KH.
I know how to spell Kashpuri, Joe.
Do you? How's he spelled it?
Yep, those look like fantastic kashpuri. They're houses. The first results were houses.
Oh God, this is
He's
going
really
downhill very
He's really
quickly.
butchering the spelling.
Can you
If
read the
there's
spelling
just-
out, please?
No, not Georgina. Georgia. Oh.
Do you want a hand, Josh? He's still googling. He's just getting loads of towns
It's
in
a lot of
Georgia.
architecture and no food whatsoever. How is he still failing?
Way!
Okay.
Still,
So he
Google
typed
still
in
had to correct the
food.
spelling.
So
And
th- This is what it looks
oh, it looks like a kind of like a flatbread. That would make for an excellent garlic bread. Sorry, I just
Oh, it would,
I
yeah.
just decimated a culture's food.
like. Yeah. Also,
the
it sort of looks like a
cuisine there.
vagina, if I'm being honest.
Oh, okay, thanks, Josh.
Don, please save us. What have you learned about yourself?
So
this
what have
week?
I learned about myself? I've learned that. So as I've mentioned on a previous podcast, I have a crippling fear of birds, but I've learned that there is potential for me to fix this and find a cure if I wanted to. I think.
Is
If
it
I was
kill all
If I
birds?
was determined enough, well, that is my immediate solution. But I don't think other people would appreciate that because they like to watch them or listen to them.
Government
I like to
drones.
eat them.
Strange. Eat them, yeah.
Yeah, just give me some fried chicken. Damn.
I mean,
can
imagine
help
if they were all dead, you'd have a supply for
literally
weeks.
days.
Yeah, literally days before it went off.
But no, so I was on a dog walk once with a friend, and it was a really beautiful day, and we were walking around this reservoir, and I just thought, hey, you know what? Might be a good place to stop, look at the water, listen to the water, just have a little relaxing chat.
Sounds pleasant.
It was very pleasant. And so we did that and just lost sight of the dog for literally 2 seconds. Mind you, I had a broken finger, as I've mentioned in another podcast.
More scars.
Yes, and more scars. I had a broken finger at this point. And as I was looking for the dog, I noticed that the dog had gone around a bush. And it was just not coming back to me when I called it.
Ruh-roh.
So we went over and we realised that there's something in this dog's mouth. At first glance, it looked like there was a bit of a worm just dripping out of its mouth.
Oh dear.
Not dripping, but yeah.
Oh.
But then I just thought, you know what? It's just a bunch of leaves, and there's probably just a stick in there. And then the dog came closer, and it was just gnawing at this something in its mouth. And then my friend and I saw it. It was. Sorry, this is gonna get a bit gruesome, guys. So, look away. Turn
Turn
it
your
down,
ears
yes.
away.
No, don't do that. Keep listening.
It was the head of a bird. Just the head.
No. What type of bird?
I think maybe a pheasant or something.
Oh, quite a big bird then.
Where was this reservoir?
It was the Red Mice Reservoir in Sheffield.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Are they quite big?
Pheasants, they've got a decent sized head.
It was bigger than a pigeon's head.
I mean, they taste nice.
That is true. Wow. Okay.
But yeah, so this dog was just going at this bird's head.
So your solution to being afraid of birds is to take this dog with you to maul all the birds
Hold
to
on.
death.
Hold on. No, it's a lot more wholesome than that.
Okay.
Is it? It doesn't sound like
It
it.
doesn't, not yet. But, so obviously we were in a state of panic and we had to get this bird head out of this dog's mouth. Mind you, it is a hunting dog, so it was kind of naturally bred to do something like this.
I was not happy about having it removed.
Yes, so we tried prying its mouth open, and I had a broken finger, so there was no chance of me doing it. But my friend was immediately like, "Okay, I'll open the dog's mouth, and Don, You go in and scoop this bird head out.
Lovely.
There was no chance in hell of me doing that. I would never step anywhere near that.
Yeah, I do have a question. Is this a story, the origin story to why you're terrified of birds?
It sounds like it, but no. There was a point. So we tried prying the mouth open, and I refused to put my hand in there and get this bird out of its mouth. And then the dog snapped, and it just kind of bit on my friend's finger a bit, and so we had to go try again. And so we did. And for something just came over me. It was like this ethereal kind of being just took over my body, and I had no control. I was 100% committed to putting my hand in this dog's mouth. I love this dog so much, so I was wanting to get it out of pain. Although it looked like
Touch
it
the
was enjoying
bird,
it.
Don.
So I was very much going to. I was happy to do it then, and I was determined, but I couldn't find an opening. So that's my excuse.
Wait, so you never got the bird out?
But we didn't get the bird out. But I made progress.
You
I
were willing.
convinced myself that I could potentially go and touch a bird head. I mean, it was dead, but still.
I have one question. I think it's the only question that matters and the only one that the listeners want to know.
Oh gosh.
What breed of dog was it?
Good question. It's not actually my dog. It's my friend's dog, but it's some kind of spaniel-y kind of dog.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Very pretty.
Sounds like a good dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So yeah, I got a bit closer to curing my fear of birds that
Yeah,
day.
it sounds like you're getting some closure.
Yeah, I just need a dog to eat a bird every now and then.
So, should we move on?
Let's.
please.
We've heard about Don's scars on his outside. Now we've heard about his psychological scars.
Revealing a lot on this podcast.
We most certainly are.
And if you're on Patreon, we reveal even more.
Moving swiftly on. So,
Was that a bird joke? Swiftly.
Did you just shush Joe? Things are getting tense here
I
in
don't
the
want to
studio.
think about this bird anymore. I mean, I'm actually getting quite nervous just thinking about it. Anyway.
His knees are
Don't be
weak and
such
his
a
arms.
chicken.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, yes, Joe!
Sorry. This really not okay. You've got a phobia. This is just.
Do you want
this
to hear a bird
this is
joke?
bullying. Yes, please. If you got one.
Yeah. So, if a blackbird has black babies and a bluebird has blue babies, what bird has no babies?
I don't know.
A swallow.
That's actually really good.
Oh. Okay. Well, please on with the episode.
So, as you hopefully heard last episode, pain and work can be really challenging to balance. If you want to hear about some of the challenges people with pain face when getting into the workforce, about the pros and cons of volunteering when you live with pain, and about your employment rights as someone with pain, then go back and listen to part 1 of this episode.
But in today's episode, we're going to be starting off talking about people with chronic pain and how their colleagues perceive them. People with chronic pain are 47% more likely to report threats of abuse when they're at work. 30% of people with pain report poor supervisor support in the workplace. And people with pain are 64% less likely to find their job rewarding compared to people who don't have chronic pain. A large part of this is due to how people with pain are treated, particularly by their employers, but also by their colleagues.
But yeah, so people with pain who go on sick leave often find a very cynical view of their commitment to work. In an academic paper interviewing employers of people with pain, one employer was quoted as saying, "It's just laziness. They've been paid to have that time off. They can't be bothered."
Yeah, just imagine that's what people say about you if you can't make it to work. Like, you'd feel inclined to force yourself to go in no matter what, but then it's just going to end up making your health worse in the long run.
On the flip side, though, to see the employer's side, 14% of people with chronic pain who take sick leave are not back in work in 6 months' time. So,
Well,
yeah. And if you're a small business, that must be terrifying.
yeah.
I mean, how can you redistribute that work to all the existing staff or even pay a whole new salary for a replacement to cover that staff member?
it's especially like the fine margins. I know, like working in startups, working in small companies, the margins are thin.
Oh, wafer thin.
So yeah, it is. It's hard, isn't it? Because it's all well and good saying you've got to be really flexible. You've got to be able to give people that time off. But if you're having to pay another salary as well,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's a hard balance to strike.
And we're by absolutely no means suggesting that it's justifiable to discriminate against people on that basis, because it isn't.
Not at all, but it's important to recognise like that there's two sides to every coin, and even though we are here to educate people about pain, we've got to be open about our dialogue about how these things affect both sides, because it's easy for us to always jump to the side of people with pain, as we are people living with pain, but we have to try and provide a balanced argument.
Oh, of course it is, yeah.
Yeah, I think we discussed in the previous episode just certain ways that people are discriminated for their pain. And Josh asked the question of, why would you ever want to tell your employer about your pain? And I think this kind of goes to show that there are options for you if you do want to talk about it with your employer, and there are just certain things that they can do to be aware of your pain and accommodate that. As
Yeah.
an employer, I think it's really important to, well, for the sake of the business, to keep everything in check and have that in mind.
Yeah, and something we didn't mention last time is, there may be some overt employment policies, but also there's that sort of unconscious bias as well.
Yeah.
If you're from human resources, then even on a deep down sort of subconscious basis, are you negatively selecting people with chronic pain in terms of not selecting them at all?
Yeah, I think there's that idea that people with chronic pain are all benefits thieves and we're all scroungers who are just trying to live off the government and not work a day in our lives, whatever. And I think that even when you're literally proving that point wrong by attempting to be in the workforce, I think that there are a lot of people who have that underlying kind of discriminatory view towards people with chronic pain, even if they think that they would never consciously have that bias. Like you say, there's that unconscious kind of undertone of, oh, well, of course Jim's off again because he's always fucking ill. He's always got a reason to be off. And it's, that might not be a conscious bias, but it's important to recognise that that's still really quite common.
Yeah. So what can be done to help people with pain stay in work?
I mean, there's a study that talks about sort of key motivators for people remaining in work. So the most important thing here being kind of job satisfaction. If you really don't feel like being able to get out of bed in the morning because the pain is so challenging, the last thing that you want is to kind of go to a job that you don't enjoy. So job satisfaction is a key thing. And I guess as well, once you're in work, the distraction that it provides is a good motivator. We've all spoke about distraction theory before, like having a hobby to try and take your mind off it. Obviously that's not a cure-all for pain, but like I think we all do use it to a more or lesser extent.
And another fear, which I think is probably a very legitimate theory, is like stagnation of development, like not being able to progress in your career and feeling like you have to continue to work. And I think what that ultimately does is it can worsen pain, it can worsen medical conditions, it can run you into the ground, so that ultimately you're going to be worse off in the future.
True. I think, though, we need to be very careful that we're not telling people that going to work is a bad thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely not. It's good. It is a good thing.
Like, there are a lot of kind of positive motivators, so people feel useful to society. I know that I've interviewed a lot of people with pain in the past who have said that they kind of feel useless when they're unemployed. They feel like they're not contributing. And actually, to be honest with you, I think, like, even getting out of bed and going downstairs and kind of ambling in the garden or something like that, in my head, if that's all you can do, that's still a massive contribution to society, because you're doing your best to maintain your quality of life, and by maintaining your quality of life, like, you're going to reduce your dependency on the healthcare services. Like, that in itself is a major contribution you can make. And I'm not saying that, like, people are draining those resources, but, like, it shouldn't be undersold how people taking care of themselves when they live with chronic pain is actually a huge contribution to society. Because if they chose to leave themselves kind of at the disposal of other people in terms of requiring care, life would be so much harder for everyone else, because people would very quickly realise that a lot of people are managing their own situation when they could quite easily turn around and be like, I would actually benefit more from having carers, I would benefit more from having healthcare support, but they're actually doing a great job themselves just
Yeah.
managing their own health.
Yeah, I think it's easy to take for granted the support that you do get from the NHS or whatever.
Mm.
But it's also easy to take for granted the work that you do to work on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the other major things I think a lot of people can appreciate is that financial stability.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not worrying how are you gonna pay for your rent, for example, I think that helps a lot, particularly with psychological stress.
Yeah, and I think that's probably like a good way to kind of lead us on to the next section, I guess.
Yeah. So that's a few motivators to stay in work, but we wanted to get expert opinions on how the employer-employee relationship can be best managed. To keep people with chronic pain productive in the workplace, and but also in a sustainable manner for the health.
Yeah.
So we're going to head over to a little segment with Ronald O'Kane, a PhD researcher at Glasgow Caledonian University. He's doing his PhD research on barriers and facilitators to people with chronic pain in the workforce, both from the employer and employee points of view. Let's hear what he had to say.
So I'm really fortunate to be joined by Ronald O'Kane from Glasgow Caledonian University, and he's doing some really, really interesting work at the minute about pain and work. So I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit more about the research that you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. So a wee bit of background for me is I started as a sort of undergraduate at GCU doing a chronic pain undergraduate dissertation looking at a quantitative side of things, but with this PhD it's more qualitative. So I've been looking to interview employees who have chronic pain and how they manage pain at work, specifically within this multi-medium enterprise kind of space, specifically because they might not have as many resources as larger companies. I've also been taken on the employer's point of view as well, so trying to interview separately these groups to find out what they do to support each other to help keep these employees at work. So that's essentially the nuts and bolts of it. And what we're looking to do is to kind of create an intervention that helps kind of keep these employees to stay at work as well. So there's a lot involved in it.
Amazing. You said that for maybe small to medium enterprises it's a bit more difficult. I don't know, do you know if there's anything happening in larger companies maybe to help people stay in the workforce? Have you found anything about that in your research where you've been reading?
I think with the larger companies, what you can almost kind of infer from what you find out from smaller ones and what they're missing. But I wouldn't say I found out anything majorly that they're doing. I just think that they have more support in general. They have more access to support, knowledge of support, and because of their staff sizes, they're going to have dedicated HR departments and dedicated support resources, whereas these small companies tend to complain that they don't have these things. So you can imagine that maybe the support isn't going to be there, but that's kind of why I'm here, is to try and, is that the case? Is it not the case? I don't want to be assumptive. So
amazing. And I'm just wondering, what inspired you to get into this kind of field of research in the first place? What inspired that switch from quantitative to qualitative?
Yeah, I mean, I've liked both, to be fair. Like, there's strengths and weaknesses of both, as a lot of researchers will tell you. But what inspired me, I would say, was I actually lived with my mum for a couple of years during COVID. And she has chronic pain. She has like arthritis in her knees. So seeing it firsthand, knowing the struggles of it, knowing that she still works and she still manages to make it to work. And then my supervisor, Joe McParland, was putting out the offers during the end of my undergraduate dissertation, and she just said, there's a PhD scholarship going, it's in chronic pain, you kind of like this topic, and I was like, yeah, 100%, like I want to continue as a researcher in my career, so it just sort of felt like it was a natural progression for me to try and maybe move away from quantitative and start with a wee qualitative kind of project, and it's grew arms and legs very quickly.
Amazing. And with those arms and legs, so you mentioned a little bit briefly before, but what's the end goal of the research?
we want to develop a kind of workplace-based resource or tool, or I guess blueprint is what I've been calling it, that helps SMEs kind of apply what we find in this study to kind of help the employees stay at work. So we're looking to develop a resource that helps the employees stay at work with chronic pain, but it also might be a separate resource that might help the employer too. So I might be creating two resources, or maybe have one resource that's all singing, all dancing, if you know what I mean. So it'd be nice to have it all singing from the same hymn sheet, but I appreciate that the employers may have different goals than the employees. So it might be kind of two drafts of the same thing, if you will.
Amazing. And the last thing is, where can we find out more? So if any of our listeners want to know about how the research is progressing, is there anywhere they can go and find out about it?
Well, I'm looking to get published eventually, but you could probably contact the GCU Workplace Wellness Hub, which I'm a part of. So that's kind of where this research is kind of born out of as well. They kind of look at aging across the lifespan. So the Workplace Wellness Hub kind of covers the workplace kind of health sphere. So you could get in touch that way, or with myself, you can contact me directly for some summary results when they're available. I can leave my email with you if you want. You can dish that out, as it were.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's everything. Thanks so much, Ron.
Thank you very much, Joe. Cheers.
Yeah, no, that is some really exciting research we've just heard about, and we hope to get Ronald back on the podcast to hear about his results in the future. Interestingly, he actually got into that work because of his mum. So his mum lives with chronic pain and really struggled to stay in the workforce because of her chronic pain. So thanks, Ronald's mum.
Yeah.
Big shout out from everyone here at the Pain in the Podcast. But for now, just a little sort of second cutaway. We want to just keep you updated on how our Etsy adventure is going on. So let's see
Etsy
how
empire.
our fridge magnates are doing. Our fridge magnates. So I have more time off than the other two co-hosts at the minute, and so I have been tasked with bulking up our production of these magnets. So we made one each when we were all together, just as kind of like a first trial, and now it's my job to satisfy all the tons and tons of orders that I'm sure are going to come in for these. So I'm currently redoing the frames so that I can cast some more of these terrazzo magnets. And if you've not seen what terrazzo is, can thoroughly recommend going and looking it up. It's a really kind of fun craft. I've enjoyed it a lot doing it so far. There's a lot of sanding involved, but yeah, really enjoyed it up to now. 4 minutes in and I've super glued my fingers. Not the ideal start, but I'm still alive. So for you avid listeners and you Patreon subscribers, you'll have noticed that so far we have had a 20-hour challenge where we were looking to find out how good you can truly get at a brand new skill within 20 hours, because this is kind of the normal time that healthcare students get, or they get less than 20 hours of healthcare education during the course of their undergraduate studies. We've done on our Patreon a game called On Your Marks, Get Set, Feed Me, which is heavily inspired by Ready, Steady, Cook. And now we're doing our Etsy adventure. And what I hope you'll notice is that everything that we're doing on the podcast, we are doing because we want to try and demonstrate a message relating to pain. So just a reminder for those of you who've forgotten why the hell we're making fridge magnets and why I'm subjecting myself to this on a Tuesday afternoon. The fridge magnet idea came from producing our own crafts to sell on Etsy. And this was because it was one of the top jobs recommended online on a jobs website for people with chronic pain. And so we thought, okay, yeah, I guess, like, maybe it's something that's more feasible and that you can do it. You can kind of control your own hours. You're your own boss. But actually, how feasible is it to make money on Etsy? Because a lot of the creators that I see on Etsy, whenever I've been on there, are extremely talented, and they are people who have been doing their craft for many, many years. They're not people like us upstarts who are desperate to find
some success in selling one of their products. So we're trying to demonstrate, like, if you're coming from no baseline and you want to become a successful Etsy seller, that it's easier said than done. So if you want to prove us wrong and you want to prove it's incredibly easy to be an Etsy seller, do not forget all the profits from this go to charity. And so it's going to help other people with chronic pain. You can find out all the details in the show notes about where the money is going. So if you do want to help support us, then we would be greatly appreciative. We wanted to find out how much money we could make over the course of a week from Etsy, and so we've obviously publicised that to friends, family, and social media accounts. But any profit that we do make longer term from these magnets that will be up on that Etsy store will still go to that charity, even if you miss that 1 week deadline. So there you go. Right, I need to make some more of this terrazzo. So I'm just going to quickly look at the instruction. Well, I'll tell you what, let's go for some colours in these ones, shall we? We'll do for a little drop of red, a couple of drops of that, oop, a couple of drops of white. Let's get this pinky type colour. Right, while I wait for them to dry, I'm going to go and set up our Etsy store. So let's see how successful that is. Well, hey, my identity has been verified after a very complicated process, but alas, we now have an Etsy store. So that means that you can start... oh no, you have to pay to set it up. No. Okay, so after quite a long-winded process, I have now verified myself on Etsy, now to only find out that it's going to cost us to actually set up the account in the first place. So, as I said before, Paying the Podcast runs on a very shoestring budget, and we cannot afford that. So we are going to continue to call it our Etsy adventure, but we're actually going to employ Facebook Marketplace, because that one we know for sure is free. So you will be able to see our links going up there very soon. And yes, yet another layer of failure that makes it even more challenging to actually make any money as someone living with pain. So quite apt, really. But either way, yeah. And back to the episode.
Oh my god, we've lost all the money. Help, please.
There was no
We're going
money.
bankrupt. I have to sell my shoes. Again.
Now, as you heard last episode, we wanted to introduce the discussion about benefits here in this episode, and to do it justice in the next 5 or 10 minutes just isn't going to happen. So Josh is actually writing a whole episode on it as we speak, but for now we just want to start opening up that discussion about the possible entitlements you might have and the obstacles that you might face along the way.
So for the sake of our sanity, we're only going to cover the benefit system in the UK. So apologies for any international listeners / viewers. But for those of you who may not know, there are two main types of benefits in the UK. There's means tested and non-means tested. Means tested include the more common ones like job seekers allowance, income support, housing benefits, which depend on the mean average of your income. Whereas non-means tested benefits include disability living allowance, carer's allowance, which is quite important for those with chronic pain, and we'll talk further about this in another episode. But another key one is personal independence payments.
Yes, and personal independence payment, or PIP for short, which I'm sure people are aware about it, what they prefer to call it, is a payment that you get approximately, at the high end, £700 a month, which equates to about £9,000 a year. And there's a multitude of conditions that can help you in terms of getting PIP. Primarily, that's any disability that you have. That can be either illnesses that affect mental health or anything that, for example, I've got a list here, including anything that limits you preparing food, eating and drinking, managing your own medicines and treatments, washing and bathing, going to the toilet, getting dressed and undressed, reading, managing your finances, socialising or being around others, talking, listening and understanding. So I think we can agree there that there's actually quite a lot there. And if you've got chronic pain, for example, washing and bathing might be quite difficult.
Oh, yeah.
If you've got severe arthritis, let's just say, pick out the air, getting into, and you don't have a walk-in shower, for example, getting in and out of a bath.
Oh, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolute nightmare.
Cocaine, that can be quite difficult.
Yeah.
Cocaine.
Cocaine can be difficult,
Sorry, cooking. Yes.
but specifically cooking.
Yeah, I've got a friend who lives with CRPS, and he has an absolute nightmare cooking. He says, like, the pressure of being stood for long periods of time is like people sticking needles through his feet. Like, that's the kind of sensation he describes it as. So, yeah, although that doesn't fit into the kind of common label of disability that we think of as a public, like when we think disability, we think learning difficulties, we think wheelchairs, we think amputees, but actually, like, the scope is so much broader, and chronic pain conditions really are disabling. I think that's it's naive maybe to separate them from other disabilities. Like, if it affects, like Josh says, these kind of day-to-day activities, then it should be considered a disability.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, these benefits, do you know, I'm going to get on my pedestal. I'm going to get on my soapbox now. The fact that we call these benefits, it sickens me. It sort of makes you think like, oh, these people are getting really ahead in life because they're getting some money from the government. I mean, nobody that's on benefits is like, oh yeah, I've got some benefits. That's better than me being able to work and go about my normal day. I don't think I've ever met anybody that thinks like that. It's just sort of such a misnomer.
Yeah, and I think there's always those stories about, oh, there's this person online and they were claiming disability benefit, but actually here's a video of them on a bouncy castle with their kids or whatever, and they're actually lying because they said they couldn't walk. These stories that get blown up in the tabloid media are, like, you can count them on one hand, but the number of people claiming benefits, like, hundreds of thousands to millions of people are receiving some sort of welfare support from the government, which is great that there is that kind of funding at all, but, like, it's really insufficient for most people. But there are some people out there, particularly people who maybe have never had that trouble with money, who go around slating people who are struggling financially for claiming benefits and calling them fraudsters and whatever. Yeah. And it's just such a, like you say, it's a real misnomer. Like, people aren't benefiting from this.
Oh,
no. It's more accurately a survival payment.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a let's all go on holiday to Cuba, is it? Like,
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So, I think moving on, we're going to actually, well, I'm going to attempt this. I'm going to attempt to see if I can live a week or two off what the average benefits payment is.
Yeah. I think we're each going to try and attempt that so we can have a better understanding. Because, I mean, I'm very fortunate, grew up in a middle-class family, would never struggle to put food on the table. I'm not saying that we're millionaires, absolutely not, but there was always food and shelter and the opportunity to do things we enjoyed. So I was very privileged. I got to have music lessons, got to be part of a football team, like these things that they come across like maybe they're not that expensive, but really there's a lot of finances behind that to even support things that come across as simple. So I'm very fortunate. I don't know about you guys, like, I think you guys had different financial experiences growing up.
Yeah,
to me.
I think I had a fairly similar one to you, because I initially grew up in Saudi Arabia, where this kind of system just does not exist, or, well, I guess it goes to show my privilege, because I wasn't aware of any kind of system like that. So it was a bit of a shock coming to the UK, moving to the UK, and understanding how hard it was. I don't think my parents quite knew how hard it would be exactly. So whilst we never had to use them, we were just incredibly appreciative of all the services that we did have, like healthcare, a decent pension scheme. So, yeah, I think I come from a similar background to you, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I come from a bit of an opposite background, actually. I'm part of the 4% of doctors that come from working class backgrounds. Yeah, I agree.
4%?
A statistic, if anybody is interested, only 4% of doctors come from working class backgrounds.
That's insanely low.
It is. It's.
And what percentage of your patients are working class, do you reckon?
Oh, at least 40%.
and so the representation is so poor in terms of the demographic you're working with.
Oh, absolutely.
God.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up parents who were on benefits. My dad had an industrial accident, which meant that he couldn't work due to chronic pain. My mum, despite working up to 60 hours a week, was earning minimum wage, and quite frankly, it's not enough to support
It's
a
not
family.
enough.
So yeah, I mean, I've got a bit more of a understanding of it in that sense. But so yeah, I think it'd be a good eye opener
Yeah.
to see that. And do you know what? They don't make it easy to claim benefits.
No.
Like the number of forms that you have to fill in. I mean, I remember helping my dad fill in some forms, and at that point I'd already had a university education, and quite frankly, the forms are absolutely mind-boggling. It honestly surprised me how anybody, even with a university education, would be able to fill these in accurately. And you do get punitively penalised if you don't fill them in correctly.
Yeah.
Like if you just I'm not going to say exaggerate, but if you don't write exactly the words that they want, they can reject your claim.
Yeah.
Now, actually, the Citizens Advice Bureau have put together a very good one-page PDF, which we'll make available in the episode's notes, where it's the do's and don'ts of applying for PIP. Okay, yeah, so here we go. Here's the do's. Tell the assessor everything you can that's relevant to your condition. Sounds very straightforward, but I think we can all agree when you go to a GP, for example, with a health condition, it's very easy to forget important things.
I say half of the things I want to say.
Yeah.
I go
Especially
in with
the
a
brain
game
fog.
plan before the appointment. Yes, I'm going to bash this, and I'm definitely going to get the treatment I want, and I'll end up saying half of it and get probably like no treatment because they just think I'm making it up.
But I don't think the doctors are thinking you're making it up.
I probably say it really incoherently, so they're like, this guy's just on acid or something.
Yeah, and another thing that's important that the Citizens Advice Bureau say is don't let them rush you through the PIP claim. I think that's very important in terms of self-advocation because, like, yeah, again, using going to your doctor as an example, you can feel very rushed and you miss things.
Yeah.
So if you miss something really important, for example, like we mentioned earlier, if you're not able to get in the bath, for example, or you're not able to go to the toilet properly because your pain's so bad that you can't manage to walk up the stairs to get to your bathroom,
Yeah.
it's something that really needs to be mentioned.
And also, it's important to remember that a lot of the Citizens Advice Bureaus have advocate staff, so volunteers who will come to appointments with you if you're going to the job centre, if you're going to a DWP appointment. There are people who can come with you to serve as an advocate. So if you've spoken with them about what you want to say in that appointment, and maybe you've got a bad brain fog day or you feel like you're being cut off, that person can be there to help you advocate, because otherwise, at the end of the day, as with a lot of these things, it's your word against theirs as to what was said in that appointment. So there's advocates can help to kind of circumvent that problem.
Yeah, and that's actually another piece of advice that the Citizens Advice Bureau do give, actually, is you can ask to record the session.
Yeah.
So then it's not just, well, I said this, but then the assessor said, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
You can have physical evidence there.
Yeah.
I think that's important. And Joe and I and Don, we were mentioning earlier, just a lot of the resources we do give are Citizens Advice Bureau. It's just such a great organisation,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It's a
It
brilliant
is,
tool.
but it's also, I think some people find it difficult to find that advice. So this is why we're here doing this
Yeah.
episode today.
Yeah, absolutely. And some things that PDF do and don'ts just says in terms of don'ts is, I think this is it's easily done to try and, because we all know that PIP is quite hard to get. Well, anybody that's tried to get PIP will know this. But just making sure that you don't exaggerate or lie. Nobody's saying that you are. But if you were to sort of embellish, or what's the words they say, gild the lily?
Never heard that.
Never heard that either.
I've never heard of gilding the lily.
No.
Golden Lily?
Gilding
the lily.
the lily.
I've never heard
Nope.
that.
Yeah, well, it's a term. It means embellishing.
On your PIP assessment.
Yeah, so
Yeah, don't do that.
don't embellish what your condition is effectively. Like, don't exaggerate So if they say
Something we all, I think, tend to do when we go to the doctors.
I-
But that's...
Do you?
No.
it's that balance, isn't it? Because I'm
Yeah.
definitely guilty in the past. Like when I was earlier in my chronic pain journey, I was definitely guilty of bigging up the symptoms I was having. And that's not to say like, oh, well, I'm having a 10 out of 10 pain when I was having a 3 out of 10 pain. It was more just saying like, if I had had a symptom maybe in the past 6 weeks,
Yeah.
and they say, how have you been in the last week?
Yeah.
I might tell them I'd had all those symptoms because I want them to take me seriously.
Yep.
And I've grown to a point now where I realise like that doesn't help anyone, because then if doctors are meant to trust me and they want to trust people with chronic pain, I have to play my part in that role. But yeah, I think it's easy to think if I say that I can't walk at all, then I'm more likely to get PIP. But actually, that's setting yourself up more likely to have like penalisation, I guess, if they decide that you can actually walk to a degree. Whereas if you say I can, but I can only walk 50 metres and then I need to sit down for an hour, like that's a more realistic representation of your capabilities.
Yeah, and I think it's important to realise as well is that the PIP assessor isn't there to make sure that you get your benefits. They're there to ask questions and objectively assess your answers and determine whether you're going to get your benefits.
Yeah.
So you need to really advocate for yourself and make sure that you put yourself in the best position to be able to get those.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, just kind of moving on from benefits, we said that would just be a very brief whistle-stop tour and we'll come back for a full episode in the future. But before we finish off, it's worth mentioning there's a lot of grants available out there as well. So if you are on benefits, or if not, and you're looking for sort of some financial supplementation to help you with your pain, we've put a list together of loads of different grants that might be suitable for people living with pain. And we'll talk to you about a few of the main ones now.
Yeah, so for those of you struggling to cover gas and electric, Caris UK offers grants to help cover household bills for those struggling financially.
Caris spelt Charis. Sorry,
Indeed.
Josh. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Interrupting you there. But yeah, just thought
maybe
that
it's
was clear.
Charis. I
don't know. I
Cherie.
know. I used to know a girl called Caris, and that was spelled that way.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe it's her charity.
Who knows?
Very impressed if she is still Caris.
And
Caris.
yeah, so for disabled students in post-16 education, there are Snowden grants which can help to top up the finances of students struggling during their studies. And for those who need home modifications to facilitate independence and disability facilities, grants can be provided up to the sum of £30,000 through social services.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good whack of money, and that can make it
change a lot.
That could be the stair lift that you need in your block of flats in order to not have to move house, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be literally life changing, that, can't it?
Yeah.
And I mean, these are just 3 examples of like more than 20 different grants that we provided in the notes.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
but I mean, it does get me thinking. We've got all these things, but what would the ancient Egyptians do? Ancient Egyptian laxative of the week.
What is it this week, Don?
This week, it is something that I think we're all familiar with, and we use today.
Not rectally.
But we don't insert it in the rectum, no. It's peppermint.
Ooh,
Tingly.
ooh, Bernie.
Yeah, Bernie. Do you know Original Source Mint?
Oh, I hate that shampoo.
Oh
Not
my
the shampoo,
God,
the
it's
shower
Like having
gel.
a new set of balls.
For
New balls, please.
For those that don't know, Original Source is a shower gel in the UK, and it uses either lemons, limes, whatever the fruit is. But it is incredibly strong, and nobody tells you that if you put it on your bits,
Yes.
it's going to sting like a BICTH.
Particularly the mint flavour and the tea tree flavour.
Yeah, mint tea tree.
Oh, no, yeah, the tea tree, that is
Yeah.
the worst.
Yeah, that's the tingly
Ooh,
one.
smells lovely, but it burns.
It's funny because I've tried other tea tree gels, like shower gels, and they are nowhere near as tingly.
Yeah.
Original Source, what are you doing?
So Egyptians, are they eating the peppermint or?
Don's already hit the nail on the head here.
Yeah. It's definitely going up, isn't it?
Is it actually?
Yeah,
It's
must
going
be.
up the rectum.
I'll tell you specifically when it's not. When we've
They
got
are
an ancient Egyptian
obsessed.
lesson of the week, I'll tell you when it's not.
That's concerning, ancient Egyptians.
You know what's sad though? Like we are on episode, I think 7 now. Wow, time's flying, isn't it?
If not, this is episode 7. We're making this episode 7.
Yeah, this we're on episode 7, and we're actually about maybe a third of the way through all the ancient Egyptian laxatives I can find. So I might have to go for a trip, try and find some new papyruses.
Where would you go?
What one would suspect Egypt, or the British Museum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, right? Let's.
I
let's
think we
close.
just find another culture.
We can have a different laxative. Yeah,
Ancient Tamil.
laxative of the week.
Yeah.
We've got Gaelic.
Ancient Gaelic laxative of the week.
Yeah. Oh, Native American. Oh, but they didn't really document all their medicines.
No,
did they?
there's a book of 5,000 different herbal medicines noted by the Native Americans.
Well, shit. Well,
There must be an enema in there.
there must be an enema.
Okay, well, in 14 episodes' time, we'll start delving into that. But for now, it is this week's book review, and this week we have The Culture of Pain by David Morris, and rated this book a 7 out of 10. It was
Not bad.
not necessarily the nicest writing style, but the breadth of what it talks about is really impressive. Gives you an overview of kind of the biological mechanisms of pain, talks about pain education for doctors and nurses, It talks about the daily pain experience, it talks about how people speak about pain, sort of the linguistics of pain. Really a well worth reading book, and it's quite easy to get online through places like Abe Books or World of Books. So well worth exploring. And yeah, please get in touch. Let us know about anything in the podcast, but let us know which of these books you've read. Let us know what you think. We can maybe even put out a poll at the end of each year saying what people rated the books who have read it. Let us know.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Recommendations, we'll take those.
Yes, please, absolutely. There's only so many pain books you can read. I think
Joe's read a lot of them.
I think I've read about 30, but I am running low on future books that aren't just like How to Cure Your Pain by Not Eating Wheat. And I'm just like, unless you're a celiac, this is just a shit book.
He'll start writing his own book soon.
Yeah, well, actually, funnily enough, we'll save that fact for another week.
We shall.
Dun, dun, dun. And what, last but not least,
Patreon!
Yeah.
Yes. So if you want to see behind the scene footage of us just being idiots, get onto the Patreon. It's quite funny. We do a lot of ridiculous stuff on there.
Yeah, we do. And quite often it's just how badly we guff up when we're recording.
yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to revive the what was the show where You've Been Framed kind of style of comedy. Because I feel like that's dying out these days.
Yeah, we're bringing slapstick back into the 21st century.
We're not beating each other, I swear.
Just tripping over wires. Don't forget, though, if you just think, oh, these guys are okay, I'll keep listening to their podcast, but I don't want to watch their outtakes, there's so much more on our Patreon. You can see our kind of weekly debrief on the episode called The Breakdown, where we collectively have a breakdown. You can see, for example, this week, you can see loads more about our Etsy adventure. So you can see our supercut of all the times that we swore while making our fridge magnets. Was a lot.
So I learned a few new words as well.
So there's loads and loads that you could find over there. So go and check it out.
And who knows, maybe if you're lucky, you might get a fridge magnet yourself. In fact, we could do that, couldn't we?
Giveaway.
I think we could do a giveaway for our Patreon subs.
I think we could too. That sounds really good.
Yeah. Free fridge magnets.
For all of them?
No, not for all of them.
We do a raffle.
A raffle.
Prize. Yeah. For all the Patreon subs get entered into a draw.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds like a good
Yes.
idea.
So if you want a fridge magnet produced by these hands, these beautiful hands, I'm gesturing to Don's hands for our audio listeners.
Do I have the best hands here?
No, I have.
I don't know.
No, I think
My
Joe's
hand-
got some.
No, I've got fucked up hands because I've got chilblains that are exploding. But look,
Actually, Don might have the best hands.
yeah.
But Joe's got
Oh.
very long and like Voldemort-y hands.
But you've got the scars.
I do the scars.
Morio.
I didn't know Voldemort was Italian.
Have you not seen the Harry Potter laughing in different languages video?
Oh my god!
Oh,
I need to see
I
that.
haven't.
Okay, we'll show you that.
Okay.
But with that, let's bring
With
this episode to a close.
Yes, thank you for listening / watching. We really hope you found the information that we gave out this episode really useful. And if you've not seen part 1 of Working with Pain, go check it out.
Oh, and email us. We always forget to tell you that
Just
we have
say
an email.
hi.
Just say hi. paininthepodcass @gmail.com. Ask us if you've got any questions about the show. Ask us if you want to see some more information about these grants. If you just want to have a chat, you want to ask us questions, episode suggestions, book review suggestions, suggestions for new challenges,
Yeah, we're open to it all.
requests for Josh to produce a recorder album. You know.
Hey, if the demand's there, I think I'll just have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit of Ron Swanson from the Parks and Rec.
Oh yeah.
What was his alter ego?
Something silver, wasn't it?
Duke Silver.
Duke Silver.
Duke Silver.
Wow.
What would your alter ego be?
How do you know I don't already have one?
Wait, so is this your alter ego right now? Have I only met your alter ego?
Who knows?
I've known you for a long time.
Indeed.
And I still don't know you.
And so on that note, it's goodbye from Don Woodjasoria, Joseph Parsons, and possibly Joshua Craw.
We'll never
Goodbye.
know.